we're ready. All right, so today I'm going to do a demonstration on how we're going to work with slabs for clay. One of the things I want to remind you of about this clay is that unless you're getting something out of the bag, you definitely need to keep the bag clipped. All right, so we have these clips here. Make sure you clip the bag unless you're getting the clay out. So this is a 25-pound bag of clay, and when we cut clay, we use a tool like this. This is called a clay wire, and we use this to pull through the clay and to cut it. But it doesn't give you a very precision cut for that, right? So we can also use a tool like this. If you just need a single slab or just a few slabs, right, you can use this. It's kind of like a cheese cutter, but it also still has a wire attached, right? So you would lay this right here, and this is adjustable, right? We would not need slabs that are this thick in this class, but you might for something else. So you can adjust it, and then you're going to take this, right, and you're going to lay it down on top of the slab and pull it back, like so. Okay. Yeah. And then you're going to peel this up like that. So that is a slab. Okay, but we want our slab to have a uniform thickness. Okay, what am I doing? Close the bag, right? So we're going to put this over here. Okay, so now that we have our slab, we're going to use 2 of these wooden slats. We want our slab to have a uniform thickness, so we're going to use a slat on either side. We're going to take a rolling pin, right? You have to make sure that the rolling pin is sitting on the slat on both sides. If you have the slat over here, your slab is not going to be uniform in its thickness. Okay, so when you are rolling, please stand up. Okay, that gives you more power. You can push down on the rolling pin. You do not need to grab the rolling pin by the handles. Some of my rolling pin handles are broken, so you can just as easily put your hands down here and push and roll. Okay, it works just as well. So when you are rolling, you're going to be standing. You've got your pieces all set up. You're going to start in the middle, and you're going to roll forward, and you're going to put it back in the middle, and you're going to roll backward. Okay, so for me right now, oh, my patterns are not right here. Let's see. Let's just say that I'm making a cylinder, and I have a paper pattern, right, that looks like this, because when I'm finished, it's going to roll up into a cylinder. Okay, so I'm going to need a pattern before I can roll out my slab. Now, if I look at this, I can see that my clay needs to be longer and thinner. If my pattern were more of a square, then when I went to flip this, I would turn it so that it was a little more even. But because I would know that it's going to be thinner, I'm going to just turn it like this. Clay does not like to be rushed. Don't expect to get this all rolled out in one go, right? And we're going to flip it. And we're just going to keep rolling. The reason that we don't roll it like this, back and forth, is because sometimes when it rolls right here, it'll catch on the edge, and then it'll basically just roll up like a burrito, and then you have to scrape it off the roller. So just to keep it from sticking, back and forth like that. Okay, so now that's about uniform thickness, but it's certainly not long enough to make my cylinder. So what I can do is, using a tool like this shish kebab, I can trim a little bit of this extra clay off the edge on this side, and I can use that clay to extend my slab. So I have to overlap it. As somebody said in one of my last classes, they look like stairs. So yeah, they will look a little bit like stairs. And then I can take my rolling pin, kind of roll that right back into, okay, use that piece right there. Roll it right back into the slab. I can use my finger, kind of run it over the surface, kind of get rid of those little bitty lines, flip it over, get rid of the lines on the other side. then check it to make sure it is the right size. It's pretty close. This is actually pretty, a little longer than I would use for a mug anyway. So I'm going to shorten that a little bit. Lay this down right here, and then I'm going to use this tool again. And I'm going to use that pattern to cut out my slab for the cylinder. We'll make the bottom of the cylinder later. There we go. Okay. And then we have some scraps we can lay over here. All right, so now we have, and you can use these, right, if when you're moving it around, your slab gets a little wonky on the edges, okay? So it's very flexible, right? And now is the perfect time to do any stamping that you might want to do. So I have a couple different examples of how we can stamp on the surface. So these plastic sheets, right, I have over there on the counter in a variety of different textures. And this is like it's like the toe of a stocking. It's got some, what do you call it, cornstarch in here. And just like you would if you were baking, where you might put a little flour on top of the surface before you put the dough down, right? Maybe sprinkle a little on top so it doesn't stick to your rolling pin. You're going to take this and you're just going to kind of very gently smack the clay. You can see, you see kind of the white powdery surface on there, right? And you're just going to, that's just going to keep the plastic from sticking. So then you would take the plastic, I'm just going to do it on one end so you can see it a little better. I can show you some other examples. But you might press that down in there. You can even use your rolling pin. Don't roll it too hard because you don't want to distort your slab, right? But that will put a surface, right, texture right there on the surface, all right, which is very nice. All right. Then we also have, I mean, anything can be a clay tool. That's the best part. We have letters, right? So you could take letter stamps and you could gently stamp some letters in there. Probably different letters, not the same letter. And then we also have these. These are clay stamps that were made by students, right? They have all different kinds of stamps. So for instance, this one that looks like a little wheel is made like that for a reason, because they put a pattern on the edge and you can use that pattern, you can roll it, right, and make a continuous pattern. You can take the stamps, you can press down, kind of give it a little wiggle and press like that. Don't press down so hard that you don't have any clay left on the other side, right? You're not trying to myrtleize it. You're just kind of trying to put a little stamp in there, right? So anyway, so these were made by students in former or earlier classes, and you can make these with your leftover clay bits, right? So once you have all this done and you've texturized your surface how you want it to be, then we're going to lift this up and we are going to form it into a cylinder. Okay, so when you very first form it into a cylinder, it's probably going to be a little lumpy and not quite perfectly round, and that is okay, right? So let me think about this for a second. Okay, so you're going to need to score and slip any part of the clay that touches another part of the clay, right? If you want to it to attach securely. So there are a couple of tools that we can use. We can use this one, right, and just kind of rough up that surface. Think about it like Velcro. You're roughing up both surfaces so that you can create something that will attach. You can also use this little tool right here and just kind of rough it up real good. So you would rough it up on both sides. Because this clay is very fresh clay, you could even just use a little bit of water with a paintbrush, with a crummy paintbrush. Please don't use my nice paint brushes, the ones for the paint. I have some extra ones for clay. Get it all nice and gooey in there, and then carefully press the seam together, right, and then smooth it out. Yep. We'll talk about the coils, reinforcing with coils, on another day. But anyway, so that's basically most of what we're going to be working on. I think I have a bag with some samples. Oh, here. I'll use this one as an example.
Wait.
So this one hasn't been rolled, but when it is time for us to make the bottom of the cylinder, you're going to make sure that your cylinder is not all wonky like this, right? You're going to take your time, really kind of straighten it all out, and then you're going to set it on top of another slab, one that's rolled, not like this one all lumpy, and then you're going to cut out the bottom piece. When you cut it out, please do not go in at an angle, right? You're going to cut it out and you're going to leave a little bit of extra clay on the outside around the cylinder, right? I'd rather have you cut extra clay around it than I would not have enough clay, because we can always trim off extra clay. Ooh, here we go, right? And then again, when it's time to attach it, you would score, right? And score this part, and you would slip it, and then put the two pieces together, right? And then we'll talk about the coil. One last thing I want to show you here though. Some people like to make a mug that has a little design in the bottom, right? It could have words on the bottom, or it could have a little figure or something on the bottom, right? You might want to have like a little flower or something. First of all, it would have to be pretty chunky, but anyway. So you're going to take whatever piece it is, and you're going to score the bottom right here, right? Score it up, and then you're going to score the bottom of this. You're going to add your slip, right? You're going to squeeze it together. You're going to smooth it in, and then you're going to attach the mug. I have a lot of people who make the mug, and they're like, oh, and now I'm going to put my little piece in the bottom. You know what? Put the piece on the bottom first, if that's what you're going to do. So I think that is all you're going to need to know today to get started. So let's get started. Yay!